We have a lot to cover today. Washington's gradual reopening and those who say they are going to defy the order. Both sides say their decisions are what is best for the state of Washington. We have team coverage on the protests in downtown Spokane tonight. Our Casey Decker has more on one of the main organizers of this event, State Representative Matt Shea, and our Brandon Jones also at the courthouse talking to those protesters, as well as also some healthcare workers on the opposite side of this issue. So Brandon, we begin with you tonight there at the county courthouse.
Yeah, Whitney, just within the last 30 minutes or so, the majority of this crowd began to disperse. They followed Matt Shea back to the Spokane arena, and I actually got a chance to speak with a couple of these protesters. They had all kinds of different reasons of why they decided to come out here and protest today.
Why are abortion clinics open? Why are certain things open and not others? It doesn't make any sense.
Small businesses are the backbone of our economy.
I feel like our freedom's being taken away because of fear from COVID-19.
The people deserve to be heard by the state.
And as for the health district, which is right across the street, I spoke with them as well, and they said what they want to do is continue to monitor the data as we begin to reopen things in the state.
Well, we feel that, the COVID-19 data does look good, and we do support consideration of a regional plan to reopen, but it has to meet the requirements set by the governor's plan to reopen Washington.
In the daily briefing this morning from the emergency response team, Dr. Lutz from the district announced there hasn't been any further cases that have required hospitalization. He says that alone is an encouraging sign, but there are still 10 people who remain under care in the hospital. So he just wants to make sure that we tread lightly as we continue to move forward through this whole outbreak. Casey Decker is standing right across the street right now with an update on the Matt Shea side of the story. Casey?
Well, thanks, Brandon. At the center of this debate are its two leaders. Leading the protest movement, we have Spokane Valley Representative Matt Shea. And on the other side, leading something of a rebuttal, we have Sheriff Ozzie Knezevich. You can see behind me now, a lot of their coalition still staying around to hash that debate out. Shea's coalition ranges from the more traditional libertarians who view the restrictions as government overreach to some more conspiratorial folks like anti-vaxxers who argue without evidence that public health experts are lying to us about COVID-19. Now, Shea has argued that protests like this one are the way to convince the government to lift restrictions.
We need to reclaim our job as Christians to not just preach the gospel, but also to make disciples, which means sometimes we got to stand out here and tell the government and the leaders that are unconstitutionally infringing on us, no, you can't do that anymore.
And on the other side, we've got Sheriff Ozzie Knezevich along with many other local leaders. And to be clear, these folks are not completely in step with the governor. They've been critical of many of his moves as well. But they argue the way forward is conversations with the governor and his office, not mass protests that could spread the virus further. They've been pushing for a phased reopening in eastern Washington, and today they scored a victory, with the governor saying that might happen. And one more thing, it's important to note that despite the amount of tension between these two groups, so far there's been no violence. It's been a completely peaceful protest, and we haven't heard of any arrests so far. Reporting live from the courthouse, Casey Decker, KREM 2 News.